The key to success is to focus our conscious mind on things we desire, not things we fear. Brian Tracy. Just about everyone thinks of writing a book at some point in their life. Whether it's the next great novel, a helpful how-to manual, your memoirs, or a treasured idea you've been nurturing. The roadblock to getting started, however, can lie simply in not knowing how to write your first chapter. But the best strategy for writing your book is just to get started, with your first sentence, then your first paragraph, and then your first page. It's not necessary to have your whole book planned out before diving in. Taking things step by step makes writing your book come alive. Everyone can use extra motivation when taking on a challenge like writing a book. So keep these quotes on hand to help you complete your first chapter, and you'll empower yourself to persevere and succeed. People with clear written goals accomplish far more in a shorter period of time than people without them could ever imagine. Brian Tracy. Set goals to write a page or two a day to ensure your first chapter is written. By consistently writing one page a day, you could have your first chapter done within a couple of weeks, and your whole book written, edited, and ready for publication within a year or less. Setting clear goals for what time each day you'll sit down and write, how long you'll write, and what you'll write will give you a roadmap that you can follow. Writing down your goals helps you see how your schedule can fit into the rest of your life's responsibilities. And having it on paper helps you stay accountable. Number 2, the first draft is just telling yourself the story. Terry Pratchett. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Get rid of the idea that your first draft has to be perfect. This will help your ideas flow and take the pressure off of you thinking about your audience. Instead, you have an audience of just one when writing your first draft. That's you. Let your first draft be an uninterrupted flow of conscious. Don't even worry about spelling errors or how good it sounds. When you go through the editing process, you'll likely end up catching things, and that's perfectly fine, even expected. But getting your first page written gets you farther along than most aspiring writers. You've turned your ideas into written words and begun writing your book. Get all of your ideas on paper and complete your chapter within no time. Number 3. And by the way, everything in life is writable about if you have the outgoing guts to do it, and the imagination to improvise. The worst enemy to creativity is self-doubt. Sylvia Plath. Don't doubt yourself. The biggest thing that will hold you back from writing your first chapter and book is self-doubt. Fear of failure and fear of rejection are very common human tendencies that keep people from pursuing their dreams. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can instead turn fear into fuel. First, recognize your negative thinking patterns and how they feed your self-doubt. Then turn those thoughts around. Instead of focusing on, I can't, ask, how can I? Recognize that in order to do something new, you'll be stepping out of your comfort zone, and while at first that risk-taking is unsettling, it turns into confidence-boosting once you see the results of that first step, and continue on past the mental roadblocks that come up along the way. It may also help to remember your past successes. How good did it feel to accomplish something? Focus on attaining that feeling, using logical thinking patterns instead of irrational fears, and leave self-doubt by the wayside. Number 4. There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you. Maya Angelou. If you have a story to tell, write it down. The hardest part is always getting started. But once you complete your first chapter, you'll be so glad you started. Only you can tell the unique story that's inside of you. Even if your goal is to write a textbook or a technical manual, only you can do it in a way that will resonate with those who need to read it. Not only will writing your first chapter release that agony within you, setting you free to create, but it will also open up the path to positively impacting someone else's life. And finally, number 5, another one from Brian, you have to put in many, many, many tiny efforts that no one sees or appreciates before you achieve anything worthwhile. There won't always be someone cheering you on every step of the way when you're writing a book. It is important to remember that there are many tiny steps you must put in and cheer on yourself before writing a book. That is the beauty of writing one page a day, on your good days and bad days, when you want to write and when you don't want to write. Make yourself write. While only those closest to you may get a glimpse of all the tiny, unseen efforts you put into writing your book, the end result will be visibly worth it.